from inside Memorial Stadium. This is the Huskers Radio Network podcast. All Huskers, all the time. Here's your host, Jessica Coody.
Welcome back, everybody, into the Huskers Radio Network podcast for episode 3. We are bringing in the all-time leader for block shots for Nebraska women's basketball. In fact, every blocks record pretty much possible, her name is attached to it all over the record books for the Huskers. Cain is in Lincoln for the summer. Kate, thank you so much for taking some time. We appreciate it. I guess, first of all, let's give an update. What are you up to these days and kind of what's been going on this summer?
Well, thank you for having me. And so basically these days I'm back in Lincoln, just working on classes and using the facilities, which have been super nice. Kind of just working out, trying to make the most of these next few months before signing an overseas contract and heading over there to get to play professionally. So it's been super exciting.
Yeah, so this summer you signed a training camp contract with the Las Vegas Aces. How was that experience? What did you kind of take away from that?
It was a crazy, great learning experience because you really start to just learn about the next level of basketball, how much of a business it is, because I literally got a call maybe an hour after the draft and from my agent, and it was like, okay, do you want to go to Vegas? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, okay, you're leaving tomorrow. And I was like, oh.
Wow.
So it was a really quick turnaround, and it was just a really cool experience learning from some of the best, especially some of the best posts, position-wise, because I was playing with people like Asia Wilson, Liz Cambage, who are just so highly touted and just have been in the league for a bit, and just obviously Asia Wilson was the WNBA MVP last year, so it was a great learning experience just to hear about that next level, just get to learn and play with the best of the best. And I was there for 2-ish weeks or so with in a mix of individuals and team workouts, and it was just great to be able to just see a whole new style and a whole new pace of basketball. It was I really was able to take a lot away from it.
For sure, absolutely. And, setting you up to go play overseas, for sure, no doubt, the competition there. You feel like you kind of maybe got a glimpse of what it's going to take to be successful overseas.
For sure. And even just talking to some of the other rookies that I became friends with, people who had played overseas the past couple years, it's after training camp, they're if you're handling this well, you'll be able to handle overseas well. It's just being able to adjust to that pace and just the talent level. So it definitely, I think, is going to just give me a step ahead when I'm going overseas.
You talked about using the facilities here in Lincoln. I mean, not everywhere is like that, where, first of all, the facilities are amazing and top of the line that you can't find anywhere. But just the fact that this coaching staff, this program kind of welcomes you back with open arms, kind of what does that say about that staff over there, that they want you to come back and they want you to train here and they want you to, practice and work out with the current team? No,
it definitely feels great just knowing that, it is a staff and a team that is just so welcoming to have me back, and it makes me feel good about my contributions over the past few years, but it also just reestablishes that family aspect, family culture that we had always driven in while I was here. And it was really cool because to me it was almost I was just oh yeah, they'll let me go back. It wasn't even a second thought in my head. I was just yeah, it'll work. And they were welcoming me with open arms. They're offering to have me come in, see practices. I can play pickup. I can lift, shoot whenever I want. And I'm just so grateful for that, because I know there are so many other places out there who would never let people come back and just be so freely in and out of facilities and just still be so welcomed. So I am extremely grateful just to be able to keep working here and being able to be on a consistent workout schedule, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. So for people that might not know your story, you come from a basketball family. Your dad's a Hall of Famer, your mom's a 1,000-point, scorer. Did you have any option that you were going to play basketball?
I think it was always one of those things. I knew I was always going to play. I started playing at younger, the little church leagues, things like that, when I was early elementary school. So it's it wasn't something I picked up late. It was always something I was playing. But I feel regardless, my parents were very much just push us into athletics in general. So say I settled somewhere else, I think they would have been okay, but it was definitely, I think they're happy that basketball is where I settled.
So coming out of New York, people probably, why Nebraska? Why from New York to Nebraska?
It was a whole crazy thing. So essentially I was committed to another school before I was here. I was committed to the University of Delaware. And then in May of my senior year of high school, there was a coaching change. And with that coaching change, I decided I wanted to go somewhere else. And so basically my entire May, June type of experience was just, I went on 4 official visits, like within a span of maybe 2.5 weeks, which was insane.
Wow.
And I really just wanted to go to a place where I felt I had an opportunity to play, where I thought I would be able to fit in and just be supported by like the team, the coaching staff, everything. And then when coming to Lincoln, I think it just filled a lot of those like spots. Obviously, the facilities are insane. The fan support is just something you really don't see anywhere else in the country. And I really did feel like welcomed and just like I had the opportunity to make an impact. So even though it was funny because growing up, not even growing up, but during like the recruiting process, my like number one thing for the first time around was I don't want to go too far from home. And I ended up going to the farthest place from home from the places that I had gotten offers from. So it's kind of crazy how things turn out, but I'm just very grateful for my experience here, and I'm really happy with that decision.
Did it feel like home once you got here, like immediately?
I wouldn't say it immediately did, because it definitely different, but it has grown to just feel like another home to me. Like Lincoln definitely has a special place in my heart, just being able to like, I grew up a lot here, I think, just as a person. So I feel like a lot of me has changed and just matured while I've been here. And I'm just grateful that had happened here. I feel like there's a lot of experience I've had here that I wouldn't have had anywhere else. So it definitely took a little bit, but it has that home feel now.
So 3 times you were, selected on the Big Ten all-defensive team. Mentioned at the top all the, blocks records that you own. But obviously it was, you can be tall and not be good at defense or, blocking shots or whatever. So, and you came in right away, set the freshman record. So how did you kind of develop that? I mean, again, does that go back to your parents? How did that become such an important part of your game?
Honestly, playing AAU, I knew I had blocked a decent amount of shots. My high school team, we were not in the greatest league. We were not the best team. I was blocking shots there. So it kind of seemed like a natural thing to me. But then I remember my junior year of high school, which was my last serious year of AAU, my AAU coach said, he was like, Kate, I legitimately think you're one of like the best shot blockers in the country. And I thought he was kind of just like saying that. Like I didn't kind of realize how much of like a skill like I developed through that, because again, like obviously I am taller, like have longer arms. I think my wingspan even is a little longer than people kind of assume at first. And I'm not like super athletic. I'm not jumping through the roof to block shots. So I think it's just a mix of like being able to figure out the timing, and just with more reps and just more playing, like the amount I've like played growing up, you kind of start to figure out the timing of it. And I'm just happy that I was able to carry over into like the Big Ten play and like college level basketball. So it was really cool, because I never really expected it to be like such a huge like thing to me. I didn't recognize like how much I had really developed that skill until I was here, and then I saw the numbers racking up on the blocks, and I was like, oh wow, like didn't really see that one coming. But yeah.
How much did you kind of embrace that role as, I'm going to protect the paint?
No, I definitely, that is one that I knew like growing up, like my parents would always like harp on like, just make sure you protect the paint. Like the paint should be yours. Like even like the little kid leagues where you could just like, you'd play like a little 2-3 or something, I would just stand there, hands up. So it was definitely something like once I realized like I could consistently contribute there, like that's something I wanted to do, because regardless of like how my game's going offensively, because I've definitely throughout my college experience went through like highs and lows with that, like I wanted to be able to be that person that people could rely on if they got beat or something like that, just to be there to either alter a shot, block a shot, or just something of that sort. How
much of a momentum changer can that be for a team when you just like swat one into the bleachers?
I definitely think like a good block could just like whether it's me or anyone, because like even like I have like specific ones that'll like stick out of like whether it be like Izzy Bourne or like Bella Cravens, who could just, because they're more athletic, so their blocks I think look a little cooler. So it's just it definitely can hype you up whether the game is close or if it just really like ends like a really good defensive possession in general. Like it's really can just like change the momentum, just give energy, and that's like a huge part of it.
So looking back, now that your career's done, what does it mean to you? Talk about how much Nebraska and this program means to you, to have your name at the top of the record books.
It's honestly, it's like kind of crazy to think about. Like in my head, like I don't always think of it like that. Like I'm just like, I was happy that I was able to contribute. I was happy I was able to make an impact and just kind of help create a culture for the future, like freshmen and just future teams to do that. Like, so it's like weird to me sometimes to really just like think and be like, oh yeah, like I did set these records. I did like make this impact. I kind of just, and it's obviously like now that I'm not playing college basketball anymore, it's like one of those things like I can't look back at it and I have been more, but usually it was just like, oh, let's just go this next season. Let's focus on the next season. So it is kind of crazy sometimes to really think back and just see what I was able to accomplish. Cause like I didn't really, coming in, I had no idea what to expect, like with my performance, my experience. So it's kind of crazy just to think about like what I was able to accomplish here.
Yeah, and everybody wants to talk about that and kind of what you did defensively, but how much did your game grow on the offensive end as well while you were here?
I definitely think my junior and senior year, I grew like a lot more confidence and was making some more moves. I definitely had quite the sophomore slump in my opinion, even though my numbers didn't change drastically, but huge hit to the confidence there after having like a pretty successful like freshman year. So I think just being able to grow in like confidence, developing a little bit more moves. I know even moving on with basketball, I still have a lot to work on and just improve upon there to kind of expand my game, because I am a very specific type of player. I have a very specific role and I've embraced that, but I do know that if I want to keep playing regardless, like depending on how far I want to go, how long I want to play, like I do need to expand my game a bit, which I'm excited to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. How much do you feel like, coming to Nebraska, this coaching staff maybe helped you prepare for what's next to go play professionally?
I definitely think that they were good in just helping keep my confidence up and just recognizing when I was struggling just on the court, off the court. So it was good to be able to have such a support system. And that was like a big draw to me to the program. Like in general, it's just knowing that I'd be surrounded by like good people who like truly cared about me as a person, cared about my development. So I think just being surrounded by people like that was definitely beneficial in the long run.
So you're racking up the stats on the basketball court, but it's not all that you're about. I mean, you are all over. I mean, you have all kinds of academic honors and awards, and you graduated with your bachelor's in 3 years. Why was that important to you to kind of focus on that as well?
Academics has always been like really huge in my family just growing up, and so it was always like a big focus for me, because I know that eventually the basketball is going to stop bouncing and I'm going to have to get a big girl job and figure out everything like that.
Well, you can't play basketball forever.
Not forever. I don't know if the knees could take that for forever, but so I knew eventually that I am going to have to obviously get like a job, and I've always been really aware of that. Like it was never one of those things where I was like, I could just play basketball forever and ever and ever. Like I knew I was like, okay, eventually you're going to have to get a job. So I think it was good for me to be able to really just like focus on like academics and just doing well there, and knowing after a semester or so of my like freshman year, I was like talking to my parents. I was like, like it's possible if I like kind of push it a little bit, like I could get my undergrad done. And honestly, if I have the opportunity to get my master's paid for based off a scholarship, it's like, why not? Like just make the most out of everything that this school has already been giving me and just kind of add to it if they're willing to help me further my education. So it was really like exciting for me to be able to like get to this point where I'm like over halfway done with my MBA now, and I don't know, it's really nice that the school is able to help me with that.
It's impressive. I mean, so master's in business administration, why was that kind of the path that you wanted to go with?
So going into college, I didn't 100% know what I wanted to do, but I kind of wanted to go in with at least something. I didn't want to go in undeclared necessarily. So I knew business was kind of broad, things like that. And it was kind of funny because right now, like my dad's an engineer, older brother engineer, like both mechanical engineers, and I was just like, absolutely not. I was like, that's just absolutely not what's gonna happen. So decided business was like a good area for me personally, because I can get into a lot of different like aspects of it. And if I wanted to stay in the sports world, which is what currently I think is something I would still be interested in, but like I can use business to get to that. But if I decide I'm just done and I need a break from athletics, I could still use business for that. So I thought it was like really cool to be able to do a lot of different things with.
If you're, a recruit right now in high school and you're looking about maybe coming to Nebraska, give us your pitch. Why you should come play basketball here at Nebraska?
Honestly, just best fans in the country, best facilities in the country, and overall some of the best people in the country. Just you're surrounded every day by some of the best athletes that you could be, with a coaching staff that truly really just cares about you as a person, and you get just all these opportunities like that so many schools don't offer. Like, I have other friends who play at other Division I schools. I have siblings who have played and will be playing at Division I schools, and them just seeing what I'm surrounded by every day. They're just, everyone who sees the facilities and things and just the people and just the environment in general, it's just a wow type of situation. It's one of those things where, like, they always say there's no place like Nebraska, and there really isn't. It's just overall, just there's top of the, I don't know, it's just top level at almost everything. So it's just definitely a cool place to be, and everyone really cares about you as a person, which is obviously, gotta love that.
Yeah, for sure. And now that you've kind of had a chance to, reflect on your career a little bit, what would you say, what would your message be to the Husker fans that followed your career for the 4 years here?
Honestly, just a big thank you for all their support and just for supporting the team, and hopefully they'll just continue to just show them this support as they continue to get better, and just through all the highs and the lows. I know, based on my experience here, me as a player, the team has definitely had its highs and lows, and we've just gotten so much support. Even through the COVID year, you would always hear about things and people watch parties and stuff like that. So for Husker Nation, just huge thank you for supporting me and my teammates, and just continuing to support all Huskers.
This is my last question, I promise. What can fans maybe expect to see? You played with a lot of these players that are coming back. You've seen some of the newcomers. What can they expect to see out of this team this year?
I think it's definitely going to be an interesting year, because obviously everybody is coming back. They have 4, if you could include Kendall Coley, 5 freshmen coming in, and then with the transfer Jazz Shelley, who has had her experience at Oregon. I think there's a ton of talent, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for them to be able to be good and just really just take another step up in the Big Ten. So I think it's going to be interesting to just see how they all pull together again. I haven't really got to see the whole new group yet, but they have so much talent. If they really just figure out how to work with each other and just get that chemistry going again, I think that Husker Nation's going to see some really big things out of them.
Well, Cain, we appreciate your time.
Thank
and look
you.
forward to seeing what's next in your next chapter. And have fun enjoying Lincoln here this summer.
Thank you so much.
And keep it right here. Make sure you subscribe and listen across all of our platforms. We got much more coming your way throughout the summer and moving into the fall right here on the Huskers Radio Network podcast.